So I thought I'd show you my charity shop haul. Sometimes you go into the charity shops and there's absolutely nothing. You wander around, and that can happen several times in a row. But every now and again you go in and you find a variety of things that you want, you've been looking for a long time, or you just happen upon and you think, oh, I've got to have that. Most of the things that I buy nowadays are generally thrifted, where they're sort of pre-loved, if you like. If something turns up and I need something, I think, oh yeah, where can I get that from? Would it be best to look on Trade Me, online? Would it be potentially from a charity shop? Could I make it myself with things I already have? The other thing, of course, is I think, do I really need that, or is it just a whim? And I find that this is sort of a benefit of not having a car. Does that make sense? When you have a car, I think the first impulse, when you think you need something, the first impulse is to jump in your car and drive all around the different shops and sort of see what is out there. And of course, once you get into the clutches, so shall I say, of the marketing departments of these stores, you go in and not only do you buy the thing that you went out because you needed it or you thought you needed it, you also end up buying things that you don't need because they look nice in the shops. So of course, as we know, consumption is one of the impacts of our everyday life. So what I try and do is I try and buy second-hand things that are already in existence and are on their way to create waste, if you like. If I don't buy them, they'll end up in the dump. If I had a car, I would bomb all over the place and probably buy new things. Because I don't have a car, I tend to instead write it down on a list, so that when I go out and buy things that I really need, usually by that time, I have figured out whether I really need them or not. Because if they're on a list and maybe the next week I think, oh, well, actually, I don't need that anymore, or I figured out a different way of doing it, or whatever it happens to be, what I find is things that I've written on my list quite often will evaporate, and I didn't need them anyway. It was just something I fancied. Now, of course, the other thing happens is that when you go charity shopping, the same thing. You go into a shop and you might find the thing that you need, but you also find things that you think, oh wow, that's exciting, that's nice, I really like that. And I never feel bad about buying things in a charity shop that I don't actually need because, of course, I'm stopping that item going to landfill, which it will eventually get there if nobody buys it. And of course, at the same time, I'm supporting charities. I'm very lucky in that I live in a place where we literally have 6 charity shops within walking, well, more than that actually, thinking about it, but in the local little set of shops which I go to, there are 6 charity shops there. Now, a couple of these items have been on my want list, my need list, for a week, and another thing that was on my list for a couple of weeks. So generally when you're charity shopping, it's not always instantly available. You'll go down there and you're looking for a particular thing and it won't be in some of the shops. So generally I will think, oh, well, I'll just keep looking for a couple of weeks. The other thing happens, if I see something that I find really useful, I think, oh, well, I'll get that because I know that I might need that further down the track in a few months' time. And when I get there, that might not be actually in the shop, in the charity shop. So yeah, it's just a slightly different way of shopping for things. I sort of think it's like it's sort of like slow shopping, really. Hello, Maggie. Every time I get this camera out and start talking to the camera, this little dog comes over and wants to be on the camera. I don't think she actually wants to be on the camera. She's just interested because I'm talking to somebody and she wants to join in because she loves meeting people and she thinks, oh, there's somebody there. I should join in. Is that what you're thinking? I should join in and chat to these people too. Yeah? Anyway, I'm talking to the camera, so you better go down. So it's sort of a bit like slow shopping, if you like. It can be instant gratification because there can be just what you want and it's all win-win. You're giving to charity, you're finding lovely things. But there's also the sort of the thrill of the hunt. For want of a better word, in that you're hunting for a particular thing and then when you find it, it's a really good feeling because you're like, oh, that's perfect, that's just what I want. And sometimes, of course, you happen across something and you think, oh, I like that. And I have a bit of a rule that if I think, oh, I really would sort of quite like it and I'm not sure, I buy it. Because I'm supporting charity. If I get home and go, no, I didn't need it, it's not right, it doesn't work, I can just give it back to charity, and all I have done is donated to charity. So it's wonderful. And of course none of these things cost a lot of money. I mean, generally it's, you know, $5, $10 would be something expensive that I'm buying at a charity shop. Most often it's like $1, $2, you know, a very small amount. So it's a wonderful sort of shopping, but it's definitely, it's a different experience, I have to say, than the old way of shopping that I used to do, where you would go to the high street shops. In a normal shopping experience, I suppose, you would look online and identify the one you want, or you would pop into a shop you really like, or you would just get a shopping impulse and go shopping for the day, or, you know, all those types of things. It's a different sort of shopping experience than I used to have. Difficult to explain really, but actually I prefer this. It took a bit of getting used to this way of shopping, but actually I find it much more fulfilling and much more exciting, a lot more interesting. And yeah, I think the things that I find, they're so unique quite often, and it's just a real sort of joy to have found them and then to sort of take them home and enjoy them. Anyway, I'll show you the things that I bought the other day. This is the pile of things here that I bought. I'll start with the really boring things. So the first thing I needed was I wanted to get some of these folders, you know, with the plastic sleeves in. And I've got a lot of knitting patterns, and some of them are sort of vintage. And again, that's the sort of thing I pick up from the charity shop. I find a little knitting pattern that I really want to try, or it sort of fills the gap. Like this one particularly. This knitting pattern that I got recently, and it's just basic. It's a vintage pattern, but it's basically sort of raglan cardigans and little tops in a variety of wool weights, and it's basic, so I can take that basic pattern and put all sorts of detail on it. I can change things up, I can put a pattern on it, I can do a texture, I can do some colour work, a whole bunch of different things. So that was a really handy find. So I've got lots of these little things which are vintage, and they're just all floating around. They're all set up here in this box file, and it's a bit of a mess. So I thought what I needed to do was get a bit more organised. And years ago, when you used to buy knitting patterns from wool shops, they used to have them in these binders, and I was thinking, oh, I bet you there'll be some of those at the charity shop, and there were. So 50 cents for, I got 2 of them, and this one is absolutely unused. This is absolutely brand new. So this one's brand new, this one's lightly used, and $1 for the 2. So that's pretty good in my book. Then I found this beautiful fabric. Do I need this fabric? No, I don't. But do I want this fabric? Yes, it's beautiful. So it's a sort of I don't know if you can see, it's sort of silver. It's that sort of Chinese type fabric where it's sort of on the back. It's this beautiful deep green colour. And then on the front there's all this lovely embroidery. I'm not quite sure what the name of this fabric is. If you know, can you put it down below in the comments, please? That'd be very useful, because yeah, I don't know what to call this, but I just sort of know it as that sort of Chinese fabric. Probably not right at all. But they make some of the most gorgeous Chinese dresses out of them, you know, where they have like the little slit here and the slits up the side. And I think it's gorgeous. I don't know what I'm going to make out of it. I mean, maybe the most fabulous jacket. I don't know. But there's 3 meters of it. It's very narrow, but there's 3 meters of it. So I thought, can't leave that at the charity shop, can I? So that had to come home with me. The other 2, these are a little odd, I know. I bought these gloves. Do I need long gloves with little pearl buttons? No, I don't. But they're leather. They're a chamois leather, I think. By the feel of it, I would say they're chamois leather. And in the top, I wonder if I can find it now. In the top, there is some very faint writing. I don't know if, can you see that? It's the brand, and it says made in France. And they're leather, and they're just the most beautiful gloves. And I put them on, and they fit. And I thought, well, I have quite small hands. And I thought, well, you know, what are the chances that somebody else with small hands, who particularly likes this sort of vintage look with little pearl buttons. I mean, look the fit is just to die for. I mean, it fits beautifully. They feel so lovely on. And look, and they go so beautifully with this fabric. So maybe it's going to be a rather fabulous outfit. But yeah, I thought these, I couldn't leave them there because I thought really these probably will end up in landfill, because there's not many people that'll have small hands like mine. There's not many people who would really cherish this sort of thing and really enjoy these. I have really skinny wrists. I mean, pathetically skinny wrists. And these buttons do up for me, but they are snug. So they are snug, so they wouldn't fit most people. Sorry about that interruption. That was our passports arriving, very excitingly. So all hell breaks loose when couriers come, because Maggie's like, oh, there's somebody here. So that's all the barking you could hear in the background. But anyway, our passports have arrived, so that's very exciting. So we're ready for our trip. We can officially go now, which is exciting. Anyway, I was talking about these gloves, wasn't I? I can't remember where I've got to now, but anyway, the point is that they're beautiful. I have skinny wrists and small hands, and they fit. And I couldn't leave them to go to the landfill. Do I need them? No, but very beautiful. And so I thought, well, I might need them in a reveal. You can make all sorts of excuses for yourself to get them, but they were $4. I mean, $4. I couldn't walk past them. I mean, that's a cup of coffee in New Zealand. So yeah, bought those. And then this is, you've got to have some imagination for this, because this handbag I found and I really like it. Now, I should explain, I really like the handle and the clip, and it's obviously, this part here is obviously, the actual sort of handbag part is obviously vintage, and it's got, I don't know if you can see, it's got little bolts here. What happens is that this fabric-y bit can be changed out, and this is just sort of the catch, the handle, and the whole sort of mechanism, if you like, is separate. So you undo those little bolts and then this can come off. Now, personally, this is not my style, so what I'm planning to do, I mean, and this needs a really good clean up. I don't know if you can see how rusty and dirty it is. Yeah, it's got a little bit of rust on it, so I want to get some metal polish on there and give it a really good clean up. But the clasp works really nicely, and I really like this little handle. It's got this gorgeous little ball joint. I don't know if you can see that. But I just thought it was really nice. Anyway, the inside, there is actually a label, and it says Waiheke Hand Weavers and Spinners, New Zealand. On the back, it says E.L. Peat, Ostend. Now, Ostend is a little, one of the little sort of villages on Waiheke, if you like. I don't know if this bag is original to the mechanism or not, but whatever, this is not really my style. So what I'm planning to do is actually undo the bolts, take this bag off obviously, and then use this as a pattern on some new fabric that is a bit more me, and to remake this bag basically. But yeah, I thought that was rather lovely. And here it is now. I've given it a bit of polish. The metal has cleaned up really quite nicely. There are a few marks which you can't really avoid, but the brass bar and those nuts you can see quite clearly now. But yes, it's looking a lot tidier now I've given it a bit of a polish. Now the last thing, I actually have to take you into the conservatory to show it to you, because it's a beast. This is the other thing that I got. Hopefully you can see what it is. It is a mincer. I bought it for crushing all my grapes to make wine with. It's in pieces at the moment because I had to give it a really good wash. Now, this is a monstrous, big, industrial scale mincer. Okay, so that is a toilet roll next to the mincing machine, so that you can get some idea of scale. It's a big beastie. But it does mean that this hopper through here is really quite large, so I can get quite a number of grapes in here. And then, of course, this screw part
goes inside. That's the ring that sits on the front. That's sort of the cutter piece. And then that's the end disc that goes right at the end here. And that it sort of comes out of there. There is also a handle, which is over here. So that's the handle, and then the screw piece that goes on the other end over here. So you turn the handle and basically the grapes all get crushed and come out the other end. Now, the reason it is in pieces is because it was all a bit gunky. When I took it all apart, it was all gunky on the inside. It was quite greasy and quite dirty. So I have taken it all apart. I have cleaned it with vinegar, baking soda and some squeezy liquid, and I've given it a clean so it's got rid of all of the grease and the big sort of nasty stuff, really, if you like. But that you probably can't see, and I don't know if you want to actually see, but there is still, there in here, in these grooves and in these grooves in here and inside various pieces, there is still, I hate to say it, but dried blood. I mean, it's a mincer. You know, you expect that, a secondhand mincer. You would imagine that it would have some dried blood in there, but it's still got some dried blood in there. And obviously, because I'm going to use it to crush my grapes, I don't really want the dried blood in there. So the next step is I'm going to take a wire brush to it and some wire wool. First of all, I'm going to soak it in some probably just some, maybe even some washing powder. I was thinking like some laundry powder might be the way to go, just to soften any sort of crud that's hanging around. And then I'm going to set to with a wire brush and some wire wool. I would like it to be nice and sparkly clean as it could possibly be before I run my grapes through it.
Okay, so that's everything that I found in the charity shop. A nice little haul. I was really pleased with that, but I just thought I would show you the type of things that I find and pick up. Sometimes it's things that I need and they're useful, like the binders. Sometimes it's something that I just find and I think is gorgeous, and I've got to have like the fabric and the gloves and what have you. The mincer, or grape crusher as we're now going to call it, that had been on my long-term list since sort of the summer, really, where we were thinking, I'm going to have to process these grapes and wondering how I was going to crush them to make wine. And I'm so pleased with everything that I got. I just wanted to share with you what I'd actually found.